We're really hoping that this new type of approach will start adding more diversity to people who are on the state lectern giving prepared speeches. Okay. Speaking of prepared speeches, we have Joe in mind. Hopefully he will show up soon. But I am the Toastmaster for tonight, so we are going to go ahead and go over the roles of tonight's meeting. So could we hear from Maurice first on the general evaluator's roles and responsibilities?
Yes, as a general evaluator, I will give a general evaluation of the meeting as a whole, and I will introduce the speech evaluator, the timer, the grammarian, and the all counter to give their evaluations. Good, thank you, Maurice.
I apologize, I have to jump out of order again. The other important piece of club business is Olivia's great suggestion. We want to start sending out meeting minutes to everyone to give people an opportunity to send any feedback they have on how a previous meeting was run, and also in future meetings to let people, we also want to have a few minutes to review the past meeting minutes as well. To give more feedback at our meetings as well. Before I switch back to roles and responsibilities of this meeting tonight, does anyone else have important club business to share that hasn't been shared already?
Well,
Go ahead.
No, Maurice, yours is
okay, we have international club dues due by the end of this month. I did send out a notice to Justin to bill us through PayPal, but in the event he doesn't get to it, each one of us can go into, log into Toastmasters International, and then just we'll pay our own international dues. But I would like give Justin the opportunity to bill us through PayPal.
Yeah, you're right. Dues are very important as well.
Yeah.
Did you have something to share, Olivia?
Well, I probably should have asked this before the meeting began, but I am getting ready to go out of the country for at least 4 weeks working. So will there be someone to take over my task, or how will we take over? Well, who would take over my role as secretary, or will it just not be done?
I would be happy to because since I'm the president and I can jump in for anyone's roles. If they're missing for an extended period of time.
Okay, that's what I want
Yeah.
to know. Okay, all right, we'll get together later on.
Yep. Okay, now back to the meeting rules. Can we please hear from Kyler? What is the timer's responsibilities?
All right, so I'll be the timer. My job will be to basically evaluate the amount of time that it takes to give a speech to give everyone that evaluation, and then the 1 to 2 minute speeches. We'll start the green light, at about 1 minute, about 1.5 minutes, and then the red is to stop. Same thing will go for 5 to 7, except the green light will start at 5, and then, which is the recommended amount of time, and then yellow is be prepared to stop, and then red is go ahead and wrap it up in 30 seconds.
Excellent. Olivia, can you share with us the all counter's responsibilities?
Good afternoon. The responsibility of the all counter is to listen to the prepared speeches, pocket speeches, and table topic speeches, including the evaluations, to listen for the use of am, so, any type of filler word that are filibuster that may be used. And at the end, when Maurice calls on me, I will give a report of the amount of times I've heard it said by each person.
Okay. And last but not least, Don, can we please hear the grammarian's role?
Yes, my role as a grammarian is to listen to the speeches and the table topic speeches for misuses of the English language. I'll be giving a report after that upon my findings, and in addition to that, I'm responsible for listening out and giving a report for the word of the day, which today is olfactory, as in of or relating to the sense of smell. It is an adjective. Olfactory, olfactory, olfactory.
Well, I can tell you
And I'll preface, we haven't been very good at this in using the word of the day. And I know I haven't, and I think most of us tend to miss it. We get to the end of the meeting and it was like, oh, we didn't use the word of the day. So I think we can do a lot better.
Well, I can tell you my olfactory senses are a huge fan of downstairs.
Coffee.
Yeah. So that's plus one for me.
I was saying that plus one, there you go.
That's plus one for me.
Yeah, he wants this more.
Okay, I was counting on, I can't imagine what's keeping Joe from showing up, but hopefully he can come in later. But I don't see any reason not to move on to table topics unless someone has a pocket speech that they would like to give. Okay. Well, hopefully I'll communicate with Joe and find another date that he can come in. Then we were going to, I apologize, the last most important role tonight clearly will be the Table Topics Master, and that's going to be led by Kabram. So Kabram, can you give us a brief explanation of the Table Topics Master role?
Sure. Well, thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening. This evening I will be serving as Table Topics Master, and the role is to provide some questions for us to give us feedback as to, based on our experience or maybe forecasting as to what we would do. So this is my first time serving on this role, and I will be providing a few questions for us until around 7:20 p.m.
Excellent. Oh, what's up? Okay. So we're going to transition immediately into the table topics portion of our meeting tonight, and that will be more of an extended table topics for tonight. So please let's welcome Kabram up to the lecture. Thank you, Kabram. Looking forward to it.
Yes, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
For those of you who might be new, or maybe that we haven't had a chance to meet, last time, my name is Kibram Michael, and so I've been here in Mobile, Alabama since November 2018. I lived in Pascagoula prior to that, and then also, of course, moved up from Ohio here in the Deep South, which I love the most at this time. So this evening, as we discussed it earlier, I will be serving as a Table Topics Master, and will ask some questions, and hope that you will give us some answers, and we will learn each other from the answers that we will give. So one of my questions is, who do you think stands between you and your happiness?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. I've been asked, who stands between myself and happiness?
Yes, your happiness.
That's easy. I think it would be myself. And I think it's directly related to attitude. And I do notice that when my attitude is positive and I'm looking forward to things, that's when the better things happen to me. I feel more motivated to make certain things happen. I work harder. So I think it really ultimately depends upon me, and the vice versa is true as well with a negative or a poor attitude. Nothing really gets done. I'm not very motivated. I'm not very productive. And so I stand in my own way of being successful, which obviously, helps me connect to more happiness.
And any one of us who wants to answer that question, or we?
I can speak to that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kabram.
Thank you.
My fellow Toastmasters, I was also asked to reflect on who or what I think keeps me from my own sense of happiness. And like Don, I must say that I feel that in many cases being your own worst enemy is really true, and that can be a very challenging feat unto itself, because you know better than anyone else what your weaknesses are, and I think it also has to do with the fact that I'm still trying to let go of the perfectionist attitude that I've had in my life. I recognize that it's been able to get me to many successes and be a really good, student, for example. But it's important to exercise, not only have a high expectation of yourself, but not to get upset when you don't meet those expectations all the time, because we are human and we are flawed, and that is just something that just comes with the territory of being existing. And so that again, I want to reiterate that, in many ways, frequently, if I want to put the blame on me feeling upset, it's not the external surroundings or something out of my control, but it is how I perceive those types of things happening to me. And it is important to recognize that you're not going to bat 100% all the time. No one ever is. But a very important aspect of humanity and of anything that lives is that we adapt. And it's important to roll with the punches as well, and to not let your higher expectations of yourself lead you down a path of depression or self-resentment or something like that. So this was a very apropos question that I just, for whatever reason, couldn't think of a way to use the word olfactory. So hopefully a future Tabletopers question will invite that type of question, that type of word to be used. I'm going to turn the lectern back to Kibron.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you for sharing. That's very inspiring and truthful, at least on my side, I would say. And I believe this question and this topic is really interesting. Is there any one of us actually would want to add any other explanations, or that you would want to say something about it?
Just a little something. It won't be too much different from what they said. Yes, I agree with the first two table topic speakers that the only thing that will keep you from your happiness is yourself. So if I run into any situation, or if I run into any feeling that is philosophically or metaphorically detestable to my olfactory senses, in other words, the situation that stinks, I can put the blame solely on myself for keeping me from attaining the optimal level of happiness. Mr. Topics Master.
Well done. Thank you. Well done.
And one time.
Yes. That's pretty much like adding a fertilizer for flowers, a flower bed. My olfactory organs would tell me, hey, the flowers are going to be nourished really well this time, that they're going to grow really well. Or maybe that is going to tell me, hey, it's stinking, smelly. So attitude really is playing a big role, pretty much like Adele said. So the other question that I have is something that I learned from billionaire Jeff Bezos. And what he asked is this question, he said, think of you at age 80, he said. What are some of those activities you would do at this time to minimize regret in your life? Regrets.
Minimize regret. What can you do now?
If any. Or maybe that there is something that would hold someone from doing any action that they're actually feeling, well, if I would do this, it's going to be this and that. But assuming that you're going to be age 80 and that you're not risking something at this time, but what would you do to actually minimize that regret? Or what is holding you back? Sure.
Well, I've been thinking about this, and you mentioned 80, and I'm getting close to my 40th birthday, so if I take 40 and multiply it by 2 off, that's 80, which is scary. So the thing I would do, things that come to mind would be, I've never really taken time to enjoy gardening, but I think I would really enjoy that. I think it'd be good for my olfactory organs. And also just talking to my neighbor, you know, or spending time with family and really relaxing and really just being able to tell stories and not feel like I have somewhere I need to be. And Mr. Table Topics.
Thank you.
I'll answer that one.
Please, yes. Thank you.
So I am 40, so I can multiply that, and yeah, definitely, I'll be 80 very soon. If the next 40 years goes anything like the last 40, it's gonna happen tomorrow. So what I often think of, that's a question that I ask myself in most of life's decisions, and that is to take care of yourself, you know, overall. Take care of your health, be concerned about what you eat, your environment around you, you know, things that we sometimes take for granted. Like people that live, let's say in New York, in concrete jungle, where there's a lot of smog or what have you. Is that something that I really, you know, maybe I enjoy that type of environment, but how often do I get myself away from that environment? Well, maybe the atmosphere is cleaner, the oxygen is better. What am I eating that may cause me to have some disease that is, you know, food related? Or how is my stress level? Or is there anything that I'm doing that, you know what, I really put too much attention on that. So what that there's a smudge on the wall? It's no big deal. Just wipe it off and keep going. And sometimes I think that we, especially in today's society, our stress factor is intense, real intense. But if we look at what the things that we're stressing about, some things we cannot fix. Global warming, climate changes, who's in the White House, some things we may just not have absolute control over, but there are things that we do, and we just have to remind ourselves to push the easy button. Try to minimize our stress, eat healthier, stay active. I always listen to that commercial that says a body in motion stays in motion, and I just want to be one of those, because there are people that are 80, 90 and they're still running marathons, and then there's others that are 80 and 90 and they're using a cane and 2 crutches. I don't want to be that person. So I think if you take care of yourself now, preserve the body that you have, it will take care of you later. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
I did.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I have 2 answers for that question. And first of all, is to give people. Give. Sometimes I heard that give and take, this phrase, but this is not true. Give. Again, give. And then one day you may take or you may not take, but still you feel return. Some point when you forget, when you really pay attention, when can I get it? When can I take it? And you probably never ever get anything back. But it's always give. And then when you turn 80, 90, or even 100, 110, 120, and then you probably people take care of you back. And second, do whatever you want to. Whatever you want to. If you want to do car racing, or if you want to do bungee jump, if you want to do travel all over the world, do it. Do not postpone when you retire. Do right now, as long as you can. All of us, luckily, still young, and all of us probably is relatively easy to take a vacation. Not necessarily months like a France, but even just a couple weeks, still fine, long enough, and do whatever you want to. And then when you turn it, you don't get regret. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's very inspiring. Okay.
This is only 7:08, and you can wrap it up whenever you need to.
Great. Please. Yes.
Yeah.
To be 80 years old and trying to minimize regret. I hear a lot about doing a lot of things, and I get all of that, and I understand it completely. But I think for myself, I need to slow down. I think I do way too many things and not vacations. I need more vacations. But I tend to find myself so busy that every minute of my day is maximized, and I think of everything in terms of my kids, my 2 kids. And I just go back and I look at old pictures, and I'm like, what happened? They're so little then, but now they're getting so much bigger, and I'm like, what do I even remember? What happened during this year? I have to just stop and slow down, pay attention, and watch. Speak less and just watch, listen, and be a part of it in that manner to make sure that I can fully grasp what's happening every day. And there was a quote, I don't know who said it, but it says, the days are long, but the years are short. Every day you come home, you're tired, it's like, that was a really long day. But look at now, we're already a week into September of 2019. It's going to be the new year soon. Things fly by. And am I really understanding everything that's happening? Am I present? So I need to slow down and be more present, I think, with my family. But it's so hard to do. You're trying to be successful. You're trying to put everyone in the best environment that you possibly can, and that requires working really hard. So I think it's finding a balance, and I would say I'm probably out of balance. I'm not slowing down enough to pay attention and watch what I should be watching. So I think for me, if I were to turn 80 years old, I would have liked to have looked back and said, I remember every bit of that.
Thank you. Thank you, Ben. Great. Switching the gear a little bit. So I would like to add a little bit of my thought process on the questions that I asked. I would like actually to say something about my background. Growing up in a third world country till I graduated from high school, a country called Eritrea, was something interesting compared to where I live right now. Mainly because we didn't have that much. We didn't have electricity, TV, or anything in my home, and we didn't know that we didn't have anything. It's interesting. We were happy, of course, good parents and brothers and sisters. But something happened at some point, meaning that the leadership issues really sparked every young man and woman in that area to do something for their life. And one of those actions and decisions that I made was, along with my friends at that very moment, was to say, well, we're not going to have future in this area mainly because of the government leadership philosophy. And so we said, well, we don't know exactly what's going to happen. We're just going to do something. Let's just leave this country and go somewhere and see what would happen. God knows what would happen, but we just left the country, and we stayed in a refugee camp in Ethiopia, northern parts of Ethiopia, and eventually the United States government decided to bring us to the United States, mainly because of our political issues and that we wouldn't have any other features. So one of those decisions has actually shaped my life with these and the features that holds in my life at this moment, that I can dream and achieve something, as long as I work hard and do things right. So that's one of the decisions I believe is one of the best decisions in my life, even though there were challenges in that being process until something good like this happened. So, and there are other things in my life that I think of, and then say, well, even though I don't often say, well, what would I say at this age in the future? What I would say really is, as Kara said earlier, really, if there's something that you would want to do, do it. The best thing to happen really is either achieve it, or even if it doesn't come the way you wanted it, learn from it, and then you move on, and life is really good afterwards. I think if there's any thought process in the mind that you wanted to do something, just do it. And I think the best thing can happen is you will achieve it 100%. If not, then there's a good learning process and a lot of good things are going to come out of it. So that is something that I wanted to share. Okay, so one more question I have is, where do you find inspiration?
Inspiration.
If you would like, anyone? Yes, please.
Hello, my question is, where do I find inspiration? Well, that's more of a complex question because of my own factory of creativity and my accounts as well. So actually where I find inspiration is through sports, through music, through anything that you're passionate about. We all have different things. It's not easy to be accepted and go overwhelmed. And I understand that it's not easy to travel to a third world country all the way to Mobile. I know that's hard, and I know I don't have that experience, but I have the experience of being going about being judged because they're different. And that's why I would say that my parents and everyone around me is the people that is where I find my inspiration. Is from people around me, Toastmasters, school, the community, church, anywhere you can ever think of. That's where I find inspiration. Right, so I feel my inspiration from mass, from the Christianity or the ethnicity or the different ethics that they have. We also have an understanding that people have their beliefs and they're all being oppressed sometimes. For example, I know this might be a little devastating topic to think about and talk about this slavery. They're all being oppressed because of their race. That's not right. Well, for example, I'm actually taking a history class, and my history class is about slavery, and I know all of that because, well, all of what I said, they're being oppressed because of the crew of slavery. Thank you.
Very inspiring. Thank you. Anyone would like to add any? Right, yes. Oh, yeah, that would be where we find inspiration. So, if that's the case, then okay. So, in hindsight, and knowing what you know, and also that the achievement that that you were able, that you've got in your life at this very moment, where would you see yourself in the future? And who would you like to take with you? And how would you want to shape those areas in your life?
Using hindsight.
Pretty much like your experience in life.
Mhm.
So where would you see yourself in the future? Who would you like to live with? Like that, and who are you going to take with you?
Well, it's 19 after, so you got half a minute to.
Oh, it's almost over. Oh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's okay. Go ahead.
Highlight thing.
That's that voluntold.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay, I'll be timer.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
all right, fellow Toastmasters and our guests. So,
You got it?
just so I understand the question, so using hindsight, where do you see yourself in the future? Okay, so I would say, in hindsight, if I were to look at my life, there's definitely a lack of structure. So a lot of, well, I feel like doing this today, or I feel like doing that tomorrow, or whatever. So I'm hoping to become a more structured person, a more, do better, I guess, be better at planning, so that when my future does come, I am prepared for it. I want to see myself being someone who, of course, is, like financially stable, things like that. But I also want to be able to be stable enough to pursue different, like, artistic things and stuff like that. Or even though looking at my hindsight, there not being much structure, I also kind of like that. I also kind of like being able to do whatever I want to do whenever I feel like doing it, or think about, if I want to pursue this project or that project, I can. Cheyenne's also the same way, so I hope that, we're together in that we have a stable enough, environment that we can, like if one of us wants to, become an artist or something, or do this or do that, we can manage it and maintain that. But yeah, I'm doing a lot of thinking about the future lately, as far as like, trying to get finances on track and things like that. So yeah, that's my answer.
Well, that's very inspiring. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I have learned a lot. And, that's very inspiring. Really. Now that the time is pretty much just playing. Yeah, go.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, everyone, for participating in this extended table topics portion of our meeting tonight, and a special thank you to Kabram for giving his first best shot at this. We're looking forward to you doing it again, because I think there's a lot of good reception, a lot of good habits to see, and we'd like to see you up on the podium again.
Thank you.
Okay?
I love it. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, so now we're going to transition into the evaluation portion of our meeting, and that's going to be led by the one and the only Maurice. So let's welcome him up to the lectern.
Fellow Toastmasters and all the guests. First, I'll do the general evaluation of the meeting. Our meeting started on time. We did the pledge, had the club business. Everything flowed smoothly. The lectern was not unoccupied for long, if any. Everyone seemed to stay at the lectern until the next person came up to the lectern. And also good table topics. We learned a lot from it. And one thing that we learned, and let me see if I can put it together to sum it up, well, to sum up part of it, it's not going to sum all of it, is that we have to come out of our nocturnal state of unconsciousness and inspire the aroma of the woody perennial flower. In other words, wake up and smell the roses. Yes. Anyway, we'll move on to the timers report with Kyler.
Okay. So the timer, everyone did really good, with the time, especially since, all the tabletops questions, they were really good questions. They were very thought-provoking. We all managed to keep those thoughts concise and to the point and clear and in a consumable amount of time. So that was a great job on everyone's part. Let's see, Don, you had 55 seconds for your first speech. Diego had 1 minute and 56 seconds. Maurice had 38 seconds. Sean had 1 minute and 9 seconds. Olivia had 2 minutes and 19 seconds. Carrie had 1 minute and 43 seconds. Don on the second one had 1 minute and 58. And then Donovan had 2 minutes and 54 seconds. I had 1 minute 45 seconds, and then Cabram, even though it wasn't a table topic, you did a small speech talking about your past, which was really good. I liked it a lot. That ended up being about 2 minutes and 5 seconds.
All right, thank you, Kyler. Next, we'll have the all-counters report.
We did not have we didn't have a prepared speech or a pocket speech, so I have my report from the table topics and general evaluation. Don, on your first one, you had 1 Diego, you had 1 Maurice, you didn't have any. Sean, you had 2 Olivia had 1 and 1 Carrie, you had 3 and 1 Don, on that second one, you didn't have any. Kimbra, you had 1 3 Donovan, you didn't have any on yours. And Kylie, you had 5 1 so, and about 4 or 5
That's good. It's under 27. So.
It's all relative.
Yeah. It's better than my last one.
And Maurice, you had 0 during your general evaluation.
Thank you. Thank you, Olivia. Next, we'll have the grammarians report with Dawn.
Okay, in terms of just being a grammarian, I didn't notice any improper or misuses of the English language, but I would like to say is that, are you both English as a second language? Incredible.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
So that stands out to me a lot, and I think in terms of being a grammarian and looking out for that, I think everybody was right on and did very well. And the old word of the day, olfactory. I missed it completely, 0. So no good for me. Donovan used it once, Diego had it once, Maurice once, and Cabrum. Okay, once. Sean once. Olivia, you missed it too. And is it?
Carrie.
Carrie.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's Carrie.
Put it on, yeah.
You forgot to use it, and Kyler forgot to use it. So, but it was word of the day, and I picked it, and I missed it. So. And that's it.
Yeah, that's detestable to the olfactory senses.
Yes. You're very right.
In other words, that stinks.
Yes, and as soon as I sat down, I knew it.
Yes. I believe that is it. And this is the conclusion of the general evaluation period, and I will relinquish the lectern back to the Toastmaster.
Thank you, Maurice, for spearheading the evaluation portion of our meeting tonight. We do not have an education overview tonight, nor do we have awards. So I think I want to take these last few minutes to ask for future volunteers for our next meeting, which will be on September 16th. Do we have any volunteers for Toastmaster, table topics, or actually, more importantly, I'm sorry, is there anyone who's raring to give a prepared speech next week? Donovan, excellent. Thank you for volunteering. I know it's what pathway are you doing?
On the innovators, I believe.
Say that again?
Innovators, I believe.
Okay.
I'm not really, I don't believe it.
Excellent. Do we have a second prepared speech in mind for next week?
Come on, guys.
Well, I'll give it a try if Joe doesn't. Well,
Yes.
I'll give it a try.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maurice. Thank you. I was going to volunteer right after you, so I can put that up to 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
What about Toastmaster, Grammarian, or Table Topics Master for next week?
I'll do table topics. Did you want to do those too?
No.
You can do it if you want to.
You want to double dip?
You got a speech.
What do you want to do?
Can I do both?
Yeah, you can have.
Yeah. Okay, it'll be Table Topics.
Yeah, it's a topics.
You were raising your hand, Sean?
Toastmaster.
Thank you.
I'll do general. Do it. I'll do it.
Oh, that's right, we need evaluators, because we have 2 prepared speeches. You want to be general evaluator, okay. Okay, I can be an evaluator.
I can be a speech evaluator too.
Thank you, Kyla.
Would be timer.
Sounds lovely. Man, you guys are volunteering faster than I can write this stuff down, which is great. I love it.
I'm gonna do some educational.
Excellent. We're looking forward to it. You got any?
I'm just gonna come up with something.
Sounds good.
I don't know. I'm gonna go learn something, and then I'm gonna share it with y'all.
Excellent.
All right.
So make sure it's not public speaking.
That's right.
Nothing abstract.
Yes.
I love this baby.
Kabram, you said you could be timer. I think that's what you volunteer for, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, look at that. I think we have a full agenda for next week, which is fantastic. Makes all of our jobs easier. Okie dokie. So on top of that, on top of having an agenda filled, we're going to finish our meeting. Yeah, wow, about 15 minutes early. So thank you everyone for being engaged with this table topics, and thank you especially to everyone who's volunteering to do a speech and take an officer role for next week. And with that, let's all meet next Monday, same time, same place. Thank you.
Thank you.